ready? You seem to be the only two people that are showing up, so. Welcome to the Maker Faire. This is 2000. Oh, and now my clicker works. Thanks. Maybe it's not working. Go back. That's this year. So I've been doing the Maker Faire for 3 years now. I actually started with the first official Maker Faire, and I was inside. It doesn't like this projector. There we go. Building Dinosaurs by me, yours truly. I am on Facebook in case you wish to connect with me that way and follow some of my projects. And I sort of strayed away now from making the larger fiberglass dinosaurs just because I don't have space in my yard anymore for them. And so I have now switched over to doing plywood silhouettes of dinosaurs. And another benefit to doing that is they're a lot thinner, and the makerspace, which I'm a part of, has a CNC machine that can take a whole 4x8 sheet of plywood. So I just design it all on the computer, throw a sheet of plywood on there, tell it to cut it out, and it does the rest of the work for me. So I am, there we go. I like these buildings. I am a native to Milwaukee. I've lived here my entire life, same house the entire life. And I'm just one of those guys who outgrew my love of dinosaurs. And I've been a member of the Makerspace. It says 2+ years as of next month. It'll be 3 years. So I joined the month after the very first Maker Faire.
So are there actually chapter meetings and things like that?
They have meetings every single Tuesday that starts, it's either 6:30 or 7. I am generally at work during the meetings, but they have a facility in Bayview where they have all of their tools and everything. And then as long as you're a member, you get this little key fob, and that gets you 24/7 access to the building. You slide it past the door lock, you go in and use whatever tools you're trained off to use, you can go use them. So it's really nice. They've got laser cutters there, which is basically what I started doing. And once again, my years are backwards. So this is a picture I took earlier today. This is my car, the little green guys right there. So that's right outside of the building. First year I did it, I was inside, and I had the sauropod here, and then I've got the Dinosaurs, which I still have. Right, I still have both of them, but I have that one here this year. And it was still a 2-day event. First day I had someone next to me. They didn't like the turnout, or no one bought enough of their stuff on Saturday, so Sunday they just never reappeared. So then instead of me having a U-shaped facility, I got an L-shaped one, so I opened it up, and I had this set up for people to take pictures in front of the dinosaur. Had a good turnout with that, liked it so much, came back last year, and I basically made the cage portion of the trailer for Maker Faire and for parades. I haven't done any parades yet, but maybe one day I'll actually get into some parades. As you may or may not have noticed, I had the back gate off so you could actually see inside. I had a lot of people last year complaining that they couldn't really see the dinosaurs that were inside because of all the slats. So I decided to not have the big dinosaur in there, put the smaller one in there, and take the back gate off so kids can actually climb inside and see it. And then I now have the roof rack on top, so I've got this dinosaur on top of the roof instead of on the roof. Looks a little closer. And we can get this one for some reason. And let's actually get to, that's my introduction. And here are some of my dinosaurs that I have made. So the one that I've got up there now, it is actually strong enough. That's my youngest brother, that he is actually sitting on it. And then I have the pterodactyl. That this particular one I cut out by hand. This was before I was around in the makerspace, but then the small ones down here I actually have this guy in the back because of how the vector drawings work, that it's points on a page instead of like in a picture, it's just, this is a white square, this is a black square, this is a white square. It's actually dimensions. So I can scale this dinosaur that I did on the laser cutter that's all of this big, and I can scale it up and put it on a 4x8 sheet of plywood and cut it out that way. And we have some more people joining us today.
Hi.
Hello. I like your shirt.
Thank you. How appropriate.
Have you seen the T-Rex by my trailer out on the grounds?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So then this is the one that I had last year, which I just didn't bring today because it's too big. And then this is a much smaller model that I didn't get enough pictures of actually building it, but the process to make this guy is very similar to this one on a smaller scale. So some of the benefits of the fiberglass dinosaurs is if you do it correctly, they're nice and strong, they're weather resistant, they're relatively light, and you can build them basically any size you want as long as your interior structure is sturdy enough. This particular one is actually what got me started in doing the fiberglassing on them, because I wanted the wings to go upwards and they were just fabric and I needed something to reinforce that fabric, so I hung it upside down and fiberglassed the wings up so that it would have the curve that looked like there was wind catching into the wings. So your first step that you want to do is decide what dinosaur you want to make, how you want it posed. In my particular instance, his head's turned off to the side, just one leg is lifted up. And so you want to find lots of reference pictures, and if you can, a nice outline of the skeletal structure of the animal. And what that will allow you to do is you can go, I want it to be from the tip of the nose to the tip of the tail. I want this dinosaur to be 4 feet long. What you need to do is measure on a sheet of paper or on your computer, whichever, how long that is, and then just divide your 4 feet by that amount and say, I want my dinosaur to be 3 times larger than the one on the paper. You can then go measure like his legs and say, well, that's 5 inches, so that portion of his leg needs to be 15 inches, and you scale the entire animal up, basically bone, section of bone by section. And so I've got my here's backbone, it's not going to be this entire structure right there. And so you can scale the entire thing up and then measure from his upper leg, lower leg, his feet, and then articulate it however you would like. See his head's turned a little bit, his arms are bent, and then on top of that skeletal structure, articulate it. One of the things that I would do differently with that skeletal structure, as I learned from trial and error, this particular dinosaur is one that I have up on the roof, the Dilophosaurus, and I have found that the boards that I used inside of his legs to support him aren't exactly strong enough. So I don't have space in my house for a workshop or anything to work on these, so I do them all outside. And when I originally designed it, he was going to be freestanding just on his 2 feet. And I put like 2 screws up into his leg, and just from being out in the weather and stuff, those screws started to rust out on me and the wood softened up, and all of a sudden he would no longer stand, would flop down on his face. Especially after I put the fiberglass on and added a lot of extra weight to the front of his legs. So I ended up making this base that he now stands on just to give him, so he's not out of balance. And then I drilled out all of the wood that was in his legs. I always say I did a bone marrow transplant. And I welded up a couple of pieces of threaded rod, and those now extend up into his legs and then they form a V underneath that base, so that I don't have to worry about him falling over anymore. So in the future, if I make any more, I would incorporate more metal into the frame, especially in areas like the feet, hips, shoulders, any area where you're going to have a lot of weight being supported on it. Incorporate more metal, less wood, because the wood likes to rot, unless you're doing this all indoors and you don't have to worry about that. I don't have that benefit. So once you get the skeletal structure all laid out how you would like, you basically want to wrap it up with crumpled up newspaper and tape and build on that muscle mass onto the bones to to get it to the shape that you would like. Want to look at the artist renderings, actual animals, things like that, and see the upper leg generally has more muscle on it than the lower leg. If the arm is bent, you're going to want more muscle built up as opposed to being straight. You're going to want it a little bit thinner. To get basically the shape that you want, I have found most, because we are going to fiberglass this, most foam gets eaten away by fiberglass. I have found that great stuff does not do that. So on all of his feet where it touches the ground, his shoulder, and then a little bit here on his back, I used great stuff and sprayed it in there. And then took the newspaper and sort of formed that around the great stuff while it was still soft. So that once it parted, I had less carving away to do, and then it made it a little more compact as the great stuff had something to push against instead of just expand into the air. So I did that with all three of his feet and then up on the shoulders. And so now the fiberglass is basically in direct contact with the foam that's then in direct contact with the skeletal structure, so they're all tied together. Whereas when you have the newspaper in there, the newspaper can squish and then as well of contact between the two. So you want to keep adding that on. Once you do like the foam, you can then carve that away, get the shape that you want. Same with the shoulders, I get a little bit on the top of his head. Because I get a little bit more detail on the foam than you can just using crumpled up paper or tape. And then on top of that, you want to layer on either paper mache, which is what I did, or you can use like a fabric and glue mixture. It's a little bit stronger. If you're going to have it outside, it probably work a little bit better because, as we'll find out later, ants like to eat paper mache. So you build that all up and basically coat the entire body into the shape that you want it to be, and you get the skin texture, or the skin surface on it. And so here it is. I've got all of the paper mache done. This would have been winter of, I think, 2012 going on spring of 2013 is when I was at this stage. And so then this is the sauropod dinosaur that I don't have reviewed this year, but I basically then, once I got to that step, got to transfer and just do everything outside because we didn't have space in the house or in the garage for it. So I'm just doing the last little bits on the paper mache, and then you get to start doing fiberglass on top of your paper mache. And the fiberglass is what's really going to add the strength, the stability to that outer shell, as well as make it more resistant, so you don't have to worry about the weather getting to it anywhere near as much. For most parts, like here on the tail, shoulders, stuff like that, you don't have to stick on that many layers of the paper mache, or of the fiberglass, but areas like right around here on his legs, you want to make sure you build up extra layers so it's got that extra stability in it. And then alongside the curvature of his leg, you want to make sure you reinforce that nicely as well. Because as I have learned from making them, it's cracked on the other side several times that I've had to reinforce that. So you want to make sure you've got, and again, doing a metal frame inside it probably would have helped with that because it wouldn't have had as much flex. But from trial and error, I now know better. So then, yeah, you want to layer on basically as much fiberglass as you want. 2 or 3 layers in most spots is usually pretty good. I get my fiberglass from Farm and Fleet. I just use the stuff from the automotive department. I had gotten for use with the other dinosaur. My dad found some stuff that someone was throwing out that was used for boats. And it's a much thicker weave fiberglass, it's a lot stronger. The stuff that you get from like Farm and Fleet is real thin. You can either get a mesh that's all just sort of woven together, or you can get one that's, it basically looks like fabric. So what you would want to do is start with the real coarse stuff that's real thick, layer that on, put the finer mesh stuff on top of that, and then stick the real nice fabric stuff on top so you have nice layers, and then you have a nice surface to work with once you're all done with that. Once again, you want to make sure you add extra to the legs so that you don't have to worry about them breaking if someone decides they want to sit on it while it's sitting on your trailer or Maker Faire. And then either add skin texture, which I never really did. If you do look at it out there, you will see that right along its back there is a texture to it that I didn't really plan on doing. I mixed up a batch of the fiberglass resin, and I mixed up too much of it basically because I was starting to cure inside of the cup on me. So I just grabbed my little stirring stick and stirred it up and made it into little lumps and just sort of poured it on top and spread it out so he's got little like bony structures along his back. It's a nice defensive measure. But then you want to paint it up. Originally it was nice Acrofans, nice green and gold, but after having it like that, and working with it and having it out in the weather, stuff breaks on it, and then I took repaint it and fix it up and stuff. It's now got a darker green with a orange underbody and then brown stripes on it. So some of the things that I would do differently, I think I covered some of these, but if you have to store them outside, keep them as covered as possible so you don't have to worry about the paper mache getting moisture in it. I did all of my work in the summer, and so they never directly got rained on, but still the humidity from overnight in the morning, they do stuff like that. Gets its way into the paper, and then afternoon it's warmer out, you're thinking, oh, it's relatively dry, and you stick your fiberglass over it, and well, it wasn't completely dry. So inside of my big sauropod here, all 4 of his legs, as I stored them out in the weather, ants found him, crawled up into his legs, into his stomach, into his tail, and really the only reason why I found out there were these, 3 different colonies of ants for 3 different sizes. The reason why I found out they were all inside of him was when I originally made it, I had his legs too far apart, so I ended up in the process like, it doesn't look nice. So I went to push the legs farther into the body. And originally I'm like, I'll just cut around it, got the 2x4 that's supporting his legs, and I'll just push it in and screw it in. Well, as I'm cutting, I'm noticing all these ants pouring out of the bottom. These ants are starting to crawl out of my cut that I'm making. It was just nasty, so I'm just pulling all this ant-infested paper, hosing the thing out, spraying it out with soapy water, got it all washed up, so now his entire body is basically hollow. It's anchored directly to his back with a board that I put in there so that it doesn't shake too much. And then I remade all 4 of his legs with a nice sturdy 2x4 running down the center and then a 2x4 across to support all of the weight. And then I used chicken wire on the legs instead of the paper and the paper mache because I don't want the bugs getting into them again. So I went to masking tape, stuck it sticky side out, folded it around the chicken wire that I didn't take the fiberglass, stick it to the tape, the sticky side out, and then I can stick a layer of resin over that. Once that first layer hardens up, then I can then apply my extra layers to get the extra strength that I'm looking for in his legs. And that guy is strong enough that I can stand on top of him and not have any issues. So with that being my Q&A for the fiberglass, or my presentation for the fiberglass one, I've got a slideshow of more pictures of the process of it, and then we'll do a short Q&A on that, and then we'll move over into the fiberglass. So again, these are just all of the pictures of the actual skeletons and the drawings that I used as reference images for the dinosaur. And the reason why I picked this one was just because it was having that weird corner sticking out of it. It was like, nobody knows this dinosaur, I'm going to make this one. Especially when kids come up to me and they're like, oh, I know all these dinosaurs, and they're like, what's that one? I'd be like, ha, gotcha!
Was it difficult to balance it on feet?
With this particular one, it wasn't bad because it did have that one front leg on the ground. He is a little tippy just because that one leg is up, but I've got enough extra weight behind it on that far side that it's not that bad. It's been sitting outside in front of our house for the last, since last Maker Faire, probably before that, and it's, unless it's real windy out, it stays up relatively well. I do have teeth for him. I don't know why I don't have any pictures of them. I used to work at Radio Shack, and we carry this stuff called U-mold plastic, and it's basically, you get these little beads, and you soften them in hot water, and then as it cools off and hardens up again, so I formed this teeth out of that, and then glued that up inside as well. I don't know why I'm taking pictures of that.
What does it cost to make one of these for supplies?
Aside from the fiberglass, they basically, particularly with this one, I made it all out of scrap wood that we had in our workshop at home. Most of it is all made out of either 1x or 3/4 inch strips of wood. And then the newspaper that we used, I got a bunch of flyers from the store that my brother worked at that were expired, so they didn't want them. And so I grabbed those. I guess really the only cost would have been the flopper for the paper mache, and that wouldn't have been that much. The fiberglass is where it gets expensive. This particular one, I would estimate probably about $150 for the material on all of it. So not that bad. And there he is writing on top of it. Issue is more so just the time that you put into it. The making of the skeleton and then coating that with the paper and tape doesn't take that long. You don't have to wait for anything to dry or cure. So I screwed it together and the paper's all just taped on. So I got all of that done probably 2 weeks on my off days from work. The paper mache of it and then the fiberglass mixed were all the time. So you stick the layer on, and now you just have nothing to do as it dries. And especially at our house where we didn't have a lot of room, it was when we put it on the table to work on it, then you had to take it off the table to eat supper at the table and store it someplace else in the house that you could dry the rest of the way. Any other questions?
I thought so.
All right.
To be honest, like there was a lot of like.
So then, after making like 4 or 5 of the fiberglass dinosaurs, I basically ran out of space at our house to keep them. And so I decided that I needed to switch up my game because I was making dinosaurs anymore. Making dinosaurs is fun. So I switched to making the CNC'd silhouettes of the dinosaurs, which I've got a couple of them over by my car there. And they are really nice and easy to make. You can paint them, you can stain them, you can just do it black and just have them as a silhouette, really whatever option you want. They still look nice. And the benefit that I really like is they store flat. So you can just pile them up against your wall, let them sit there, you want to use them for Halloween decorations or whatever. They don't take up a lot of space when you're not actively using them. So here's a couple of examples. I've got, well, aside from this one, and then what's hiding from this one, I've got, this one is in front of my car over in the emails by the light post. And originally when I started doing the plywood models, I was like, my plywood models are going to be all of my life-size dinosaurs. So I did life-size Velociraptor, which is really only about so big. Jurassic Park are like this big. In real life, they weren't that large. And then I just started researching, what are really small dinosaurs? Because typically when people think of dinosaurs, they think of like T-Rex, Dinosaurs, Brachiosaurus, and all these really big, 30, 40, 50 foot long dinosaurs. I'm like, there's got to be small ones out there. So that's what I originally was looking for, was just the smaller dinosaurs. And so I started with that. And then when I became a member at the Maker Space, and then they had the CNC machine that worked with the 4x2 plywood, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to start making all sorts of different dinosaurs. So then I designed the T-Rex, and that was basically based off of one of those little models you can buy at like the dollar store. And you piece them together. And I got one of those for Christmas from my aunt. And so I took that model and I scanned it into the computer and basically traced it out, modified it a little bit, adjusted his tail, his neck, and stuff like that, and then scaled it up to fit that 4x sheet of plywood, adjusted the size of the slots to fit the wood that I was using, and then worked on that. So once again, you want to find reference pictures, know what it is that you're trying to make, and so there's the image that I used as a reference from my Velociraptor. And this little guy used to be called Microceratops, which is really easy to pronounce. It now has some other name that's too much work and it's easy to remember Microceratops. But, fast fact, Microceratops is actually a species of wasp, not a dinosaur. That's what they named it. And this is really bad lighting, or just really bad resolution on there. This is my layout for my T-Rex. You can sort of see possibly his teeth there. And you can't see much else, but I use, when I started doing the laser cutting in the Makerspace, they had Corel installed on their computers, and that's what works best with our laser cutters. And so that's what I learned how to do the vector-based drawing in. There's other programs out there like Inkscape, different CAM software, you'll be able to do your drawing and stuff in. So Corel, you have to pay for. Inkscape is free, but because I never used Inkscape that much, I'm not as familiar with it, so I just stick using Corel for most of my drawings and stuff. And so then once you have the right, so down in this fine. You want to save that as a DXF file, which is basically more of a universal style of a vector drawing. You can then import that into, in this particular instance, using Kanban, which basically writes the coding for the machine, and it will tell it either on the inside or the outside of this line, how fast the machine should go, how far down the bit should be. All of that sort of information all gets encoded into a G-code file. And you basically tell, it will trace all the lines for you, but you tell it how fast you want it to move, how far down it should cut in every pass, stuff like that. On some machines, you can even tell it how fast that the router should be spinning. Our particular machine at the Makerspace doesn't have that option, but it is something that's available on your operating systems. And so then, now we jump back to the T-Rex. You can actually see it this time. So I've created the G-code file, and I load that onto the actual CNC machine. And it then takes that, it's kind of weird how it works because your DFX file is, a point here, and you've got a curve in between, or point here, it's a line. The G-code is actually text. So you make this humongous text document that says move from point X whatever and Y whatever to point X whatever, Y whatever at this speed. Your CAM software, or your CNC machine, will then take that huge text file, reconvert it into lines and curves. And so all of the blue lines on here are areas where your router is going to move in a straight line. And then all of the pink lines are where it's a curve instead of a line. And then these dashed lines are where it's not doing any cutting, it's above the letters of your wood. And so then you want to make sure it's centered properly on your piece of plywood, turn your router on, and basically tell the machine to start cutting. And you basically can just sit back and watch it cut away. And once it's all cut out, you go assemble it. Hope that you made all of your gaps wide enough in the joints so that it actually slides together nicely. And then if you want, you can go paint it or stain it or do whatever you want with it. And that completes doing it with the CNC machine. Another option you can do as well is use an overhead projector or a regular computer projector, project it out and actually trace it out onto the plywood, and then just use a jigsaw and follow it comes out with that. A little more labor to do it that way. We all know people don't like to work, so. So that basically completes my talk on how I do my dinosaurs. Any questions on the plywood ones? No? Any questions on anything else that I talked about? Or stuff I didn't talk about?
So for the North dinosaurs you have outside,
Yes.
do you do anything? I'm talking about the plywood.
Okay.
Do you do anything special with the plywood?
The only thing that I have done to them is put on basically a clear coat of just waterproofing. And the only reason why I did that to them was I had made a bench for a coworker for her wedding, and she wanted the wood treated so that she could leave it outside. And so I bought it for her to treat her bench and I had extra, so well, I might as well call my dinosaurs too because it'll make them last a little longer outside. But yeah, the plywood that I used for those dinosaurs, because they're the first ones that I've made so far, I just bought more, not generic, but just, basic plywood and not, treated stuff that's good for outside. So if in the future someone comes up to me and they're like, hey, I'd really like for you to make this dinosaur, I can be like, well, this is what it will look like, size-wise and everything, but I'll make it out of the better wood so that you don't have to worry about the weather getting to it and stuff like that. Any other questions? All right. Half hour, not bad.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Very informative.
So when you're doing the fiberglass,
Yes.
I've never done fiberglass before. How messy and how smelly and I mean, is it an outdoor thing?
It is definitely an outdoor thing or an indoor with very good ventilation. When I started doing it, I was like all decked up crazy with big old goggles and respirator and long sleeve shirts, high top gloves. I mean, I was all crazy. And I guess, while you get experience, you get stupid at the same time. And so now I do it and I'm like, well, it's windy out, I don't have to worry about it as much. I don't smell anything. No one else is really noticing the smell because of the wind and stuff out. I'm not too worried. I probably should be more worried when I do it, but I would, sort of like do as I say, not as I do. But yeah, there's your sheets on and stuff on asking. The fiberglass itself is, it's little strands of glass, so you want to make sure you have gloves that, and if I remember properly, I believe latex gloves, I believe it's latex, the fiberglass doesn't really affect. Vinyl gloves, the fiberglass will poke and rip.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I always got to make sure I'm trying to remember. It's one or the other. I think that's the right way. And so yeah, when you're getting your gloves, and I had both options. I used one. I did like, well, it's always ripping on me while I'm working. And then you get to the other ones, and it's like, oh, I have no issues whatsoever with these gloves. So yeah, it's.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.